I get on fine with the crew, to be honest. I mean, they obviously maybe don't know too much about the kind of piloting, flying side of things, but they're here for a specific reason. They are usually pleasant enough. You know, they come to visit you from time to time. They look after you. They kind of, bring you a coffee, kind of bring you your breakfast, your dinner, whatever. So yeah, I get on fine. I've got no real no real grudge to bear, with the cabin crews. And you got to realize as well that there's a bit of most of the time there's a bit of a generation gap as well, above all with the junior crew members. Some of the senior crew members, like the purser or the chief of the cabin, some of them are relatively old. I mean, some of them are in their 40s, their 50s sometimes, because it's a good job, so obviously they keep at it for a while, and they like their job as well. They like the lifestyle and stuff. So some of the senior cabin crew members are relatively old, so to speak, still in their 40s, 50s, and these guys are pleasant enough. I mean, they've got a certain experience of life, and are obviously mature. The junior members who most of the time work in economy, some of them are like 21, 22, 25. These guys for guys like me who's like a little bit older, there's a bit of a generational gap, but with the senior crew members, I mean, we've got a lot in common. A lot of them have kids, families and stuff, so yeah. As I said, now in Italy, above flight level 310, I think, is free route airspace, so you can file direct routings. But I guess, as I said, trying to kind of stick to some points which are boundaries of different ATC sectors, or maybe FIRs, kind of still keep a kind of logical route, but yeah, it's good. More and more FIRs are now operating that way with free routing, so that's good. Some countries are like restricted with military airspace, so they can't do it. No, the top of descent will always be calculated by the computer, and it will show. I was going to say it will show when you are within 500 miles. It will show, and as you can see, shows here already to top of descent 229 nautical miles. I don't have the arrival in yet, so when the whole approach is set, then it would recalculate the top of descent more accurately, but for the moment it shows 1306 in 226 miles. So it's doing it automatically, and you refer to this. We no longer maybe in the old days they used to calculate the top of descent, but now the computer does it for us now. It's much easier that way. We've got some nice mountains there. I reassure you, no funny business today. Obviously, flying over the Alps is a consideration for any pressurization issues. Maybe not as critical as the Himalaya, but still something to consider. The Mont Blanc is giving MSAs of around 18,000 feet, so yeah, that's something to bear in mind. Maybe a little bit less actually. Yeah, that's one thing that when I did a little bit of controlling on VATSIM and stuff, realized that some people like flying around, so kind of simulator enthusiasts, don't seem to realize that before starting the descent you need to ask. You can't start the descent by yourself, because if you start the descent by yourself, there could be somebody like right beneath you and you could bump into them. So to start the descent, you need to ask. Once you're on the when you're in the cruise, you follow the flight plan also. As I said yesterday, there's no giving yourself a shortcut, so kind of any deviation from the flight plan requires clearance. So if you want to deviate from the flight plan because there's a big cloud in front of you, or maybe you get a bit of wake turbulence from an aircraft in front of you or whatever, any deviation like that needs a clearance from air traffic control, and then to start the descent towards your destination, you need also the clearance to start the descent. They would obviously give you several clearances. You won't descend straight from the cruise level to the platform altitude on the ILS. They will give you from 35, maybe first down to 28, then maybe 22, 15, 10, as they wish and as they need. But yeah, you do need the clearance to start the descent. So even if, for example, on the arrival on the star on the chart there's a level restriction, let's say on one of the intermediate points there's a restriction to be level at 250, and you can see that you're not gonna make it. You can't descend by yourself. You still need the clearance to descend. And then if you see that you're not going to do the restriction, you're not going to comply with that level restriction on the arrival, for example, then you can advise air traffic control, say, well, unable to make the restriction. And then they will advise, say, okay, yeah, most of the time it's fine. You can say you're going to try your best, but it's not going to work. And they say, okay, yeah, no problem, or whatever. But that's another thing as well. Even if there's a restriction and you see you're not going to make it, that doesn't give you the permission to start the descent to make it. You still need to get the clearance from air traffic control to start the descent. The only time where really you can descend on your own is when, for example, you're cleared to what we call the intermediate approach fix on an approach, and they clear you to the published altitude at the intermediate approach fix, the IAF, and then you need to continue to follow the procedure, and there's maybe another 1 or 2 step descents on the procedure. Then once you're clear for the procedure, then you can descend by yourself. You don't need to wait for air traffic control to clear you through the couple of steps down. Once you're clear for the whole approach, then you can do it by yourself. But that's really the only scenario I can think of where you can then descend by yourself. When you're cleared on a procedure, that means that you have to comply with the vertical profile. So then you can do it yourself. But otherwise, to start descent from your cruise, then no, it's with ATC clearance. Exactly. Yeah. You ask for the clearance, and they tell you what level to descend to. Yeah. So if there's no much traffic, then they can descend you probably quite far down on the arrival. From 35, they could descend you down to, I don't know, 7 or. What tends to happen as well is that they will descend you to the sector limits. So the controller en route would control maybe from, I don't know, flight level 200 and above. So the controller en route will descend you to his to the bottom of his airspace, so to flight level 200, and then transfer you to the arrival, who would control from flight level 200 and below, and then take you from there and then descend you further. That's what they tend to do most of the time. If they don't have traffic to affect the descent, then they would descend you to the bottom of the airspace, and then the next controller on the way down would also kind of do it like that. Because from what I understand, the air traffic controller, I mean, I'm obviously not an air traffic controller, but working with them for all this time, you kind of understand a little bit the way they work. As that is very much kind of working within your sector, within your airspace. You kind of need to see that in 3 dimensions, even in 4 dimensions, and it's as if they kind of they are in charge of a cube of airspace, and the clearance is to try to get one aircraft from, you know, the top of the cube to the bottom of the cube, or vice versa, or from one side to the other as quickly as possible. So for the descent, as I said, from the cruise, if they've got no traffic to affect, then they will descend you to the bottom of the airspace, to the bottom of the cube, and then transfer you to the next sector. And you can see, like, the airspace, you can kind of envision the airspace as a series of cubes like that, of circles, yeah, that's the way it works, really. Yeah, if you want to draw a circle on Adosa, it's a good question. You would go to the fix page on the FMC, and there's actually 4 pages available, so you can play around with 4 different fixes. You can actually take it from the FMC there, take the point, Adosa, bring it into the scratch pad here, the kind of line at the bottom of the CDU there, of the screen. Then go obviously back to the fix page, and then enter it in what we call the L1 key up here, the first key on the left, and then it brings it into the fix. So here you can see already that there's a green circle over the waypoint, and then if you want to put, I don't know, let's say a 10-mile circle around it, then you put a slash, and then for the distance, and then the actual number, so 10 miles. And now you can see there's a 10-mile circle, or a 10-mile ring on the waypoint. You can add on the 737 NG, not on the 777, fortunately. So if you try to say slash 15.5, for example, it tells you it's an invalid entry. So not only whole numbers on the 777, but on the 737 NG you can enter decimals. Yeah, it's that's why I do as well, to be honest. It's a good pictorial representation of where the FIR points are. Yeah. Because when you fly, I mean, you look in front of you, and like this, you look at the screens, you see a circle that kind of grabs your attention. So anything that kind of serves as a reminder is good, and this is a good way to do it. The rings like this on waypoints or airports can be used, for example, as we're talking about now, to depict the FIR boundaries on the navigation display like that. can be used to depict as well the MSA near the airport. So your minimum sector altitude, I think it stands for MSA. So just to basically depict the safe altitude around an airport, for example. And also for ETOPS, for example, when you start setting rings over airports, obviously around here there's a lot of airports on the display, so there's no need to set like a big circle over an airport. But when you go to kind of areas where there's not a lot of airports, then when you set the circles over the airport, it kind of stands out a little bit more on the screen. I don't know if we choose like if we go to page 2 here, we choose Pisa, Lima India Romeo Papa down here, and then we're gonna set a circle. I'm not gonna set a big circle, but let's say 100 miles, let's say. So we know that when we are within 100 miles of the airport, we are, let's say, within 15-20 minutes flying time. So once you get within the circle, then you know that you are relatively close to. It's just another like helpful thing, but it's not a procedure as per se. It's just something to help you visualize things a little bit more. That's all it is. So go 170 at 14. It's varying between 140 and 200. Scav okay, 27 degrees. Bellissimo, excellent. 1009. Wow, very nice. 27 degrees in room. Wow. So good weather, huh? Scav okay, which is 10 kilometers or more with no significant clouds below 5,000 feet or the MSA or whatever. So yeah, pretty much clear. Not always clear skies, because they can be deceiving. You think of okay, clear skies, not always. They can be overcast, whatever, you know, above 5,000 feet, or if there's a higher MSA at that level. But it can be overcast at higher levels. It's not necessarily clear skies, but it feels actually that from the northeast you should go on to runway 16 left, but I'll go to 16 right because it's closer to the, I was going to say to the car park. It's not so much the car park, but to the gate. And it's the retap 2 Bravo. So the retap 2 Alpha is to go to runway 16 left and center, which I don't have in the scenery actually, the center runway. And 2 Bravo is the arrival going to 16 right. So I go to 2 Bravo and go on OK, and then activate. So so that's set. Let me move it. Now go into the FMC. First of all, check the recall, there's no issues there. Check the notes, there's no issues. Then in the FMC, go to departure arrival. We've got the Lima India Romeo Fox of Fiumicino arrivals. We'll go for ILS Zulu. As I've said before, if there's a choice of Zulu, Yankee, Whiskey, usually I go for Zulu, unless it's specified otherwise. So you go in the reverse alphabetical order. Alright, so we go ILS Zulu 16 right. We said it's the retap 2 Bravo, and the transition is via Suwok. What I might do actually is do a bit of a shortcut as well. So we're looking at retap 250 knots, then to Iplek, Gopo. So what I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna bypass. Oops. I moved the map. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shortcut from Reteb to this point here in the RF 426. Gonna give a bit of a shortcut there instead of doing the whole thing there, because I'm on my own, and so I'll just cut it there and then go on the rest of the arrival. So from Reteb, then we say we go to the RF 426. Obviously in real I wouldn't do that, but I would kind of plan though for the possibility of a shortcut, so I would adjust the level at Reteb in the FMC. You see it shows you 156, so if I was not giving myself a shortcut, I would lower the altitude at Reteb, so I would set 250 and maybe fly level 160 or below, so that the VNAV like this, so that the VNAV takes me lower earlier, if you see what I mean, because otherwise if you don't put if you delete all of that at Reteb, you're gonna be only at flight level 322, so you're gonna be 16,000 feet too high if you arrive at Reteb, following the vertical profile of the whole arrival, if that makes sense. So on the chart here, some of the Jeppesen charts are a little bit like this. They give you the localizer frequency 109.75 with the ident Fox Romeo Romeo, the approach course 161, the altitude at the final approach fix, in this case here 1340, the decision altitude here in at the Aivlasoft EFB just calculates 200 feet on the touchdown zone elevation, so 13 plus 200, 213. The actual minima as per the charts I have is 220, so it's not that much of a difference, so I'll set 220 here. Then of course you've got a bit of representation of the lateral path with the various altitudes along the way. So that's why I was saying earlier on, for example, if from Sevok they say, oh, clear on the ILS Zulu 16 right, then you would be at 5,000 feet at Sevok, and then obviously you would be expected to continue the descent by yourself until you get established on the ILS. So from 5 you will go down to 4, and then possibly to 2.5, and then pick up the ILS from there. They wouldn't need to tell you, or descend to 4,000 and then descend to 2,500. No, you would do it by yourself. So yeah, on the chart you've got the lateral picture if you want, and then also a picture of the missed approach as well, procedure, taking you away from the airport. And then looking down, yeah, it's visible. You've got a vertical representation of the approach, so from the platform there, 2,500, it wants to descend actually. From 2,500 down the 3-degree glide path, crossing the outer marker there on the final approach fix, 1340 all the way down to a decision. Let me see. The lower part there I can't really show on the stream, but yeah, that's at the top there you've got the elevation of the airport. You get the transition altitude, so transition level will be 70. And yeah, basically some information like that. You've got also a textual description of the missed approach here. So that looks fairly similar to the Jeppesen charts, to be honest. Yeah, descending now. The RVR, it's the runway visual range. It's basically to give you the visibility above all when the weather is quite foggy and stuff. They use those instruments to measure the visibility more accurately than the human eye. So they will give you they've got like those sensors along the runway, and that will give you yeah, what they call the RVR, so the runway visual range. For a normal category 1 ILS approach, it's 550 meters, which is not a lot actually, but still sufficient to allow you to see the runway when you're at minima. So you see, I was saying Cavoque, I mean, at lower level it's maybe gonna be clear, but we are at 16,000 feet or something, and there are clouds. So at higher level, Cavoque doesn't mean that it's a clear blue sky and there's not a single cloud in the sky. You can have a bit of a cloud at higher level. So yeah, still at flight level 160. So alright, so we'll go down to 5,000, I guess. That was the next altitude. Yeah. Actually, don't need to add thrust. Keep 250. Flight level change. Yeah, so it switches on the left and right landing light. The nose stays off, and the runway turn off lights and the taxi light remains off. We switch on all the lights, everything comes on. Obviously the nose light, the nose landing light is on the nose landing gear. Obviously the gear at this stage is still on, but the light actually inside of the aircraft doesn't come on until the gear comes out. Same for the taxi light. So it's just that once the lights are on, then we don't touch them anymore. You know? Approach checklist.
Approach checklist. Altimeters.
1009 set.
1009. Approach checklist complete.
Right. So we'll keep 5,000 feet.
1,000 feet to level off.
To Suvok, but start coming back on the speed a little bit. At least to minimum clean. So now we've got about 6 miles maybe to come back on the speed, and we can't really descend any further. Got the big lake north of Rome there. Amazing. Right, so we're leveling off at 5,000 feet, so we'll wait here. Then go down to, so clear for the LS Zulu, runway 16 right. So from Suvok, and we can preset 4,000. We pass Suvok, so we can go down to 4,000 feet now towards Maven. Still 21 miles to run. We've got the ident on the ILS here. Fox Romeo, so that's good. We've got an ILS. The other day in Frankfurt there was no ILS. Flaps 1.
Speed checked, flaps 1.
And after Maven we can go down to 2,500 feet, so I'll arm the localizer only because I don't want to catch the glide slope yet. I mean the glide slope is slightly above anyway, but flaps 5.
Speed checked, flaps 5.
Localizer capture.
Check.
Now we pass Maven, so we can go down to 2.5. Keep the descent going, and then manage the energy and come back on the speed at the last moment. Because we're still 17 miles out, so you don't want to go and slow down too early. So kind of keep the speed relatively high at 190, continue the descent, and then when you need to slow down, then you can use the height you have to kind of ease the descent and come back on the speed, because you cannot descend and slow down at the same time. So right, I'll arm the approach.
1,000 feet to level off.
Come back to 180 maybe. Flaps 15.
Speed checked, flaps 15.
Right, and now we'll come back to 170, so reduce the vertical speed.
Check.
Still a little bit far, but or even 160, 162, yeah. Obviously in real you'd have to comply with the speeds which are given, unless it's free speed, but to allow further speed reduction lower on the approach, you need to think that you need to somehow have the shallower descent at some point to be able to manage the energy, so you would have to kind
take your
of
seats.
reason a little bit along the lines here I've followed. And we can see on the EFB as well now it's transitioned to the ILS, and we've got the aircraft on the ILS here. It's quite nice. Oops. And glide slope capture, so 3000. Gear down.
Gear down.
Flaps 20.
Speed checked, flaps 20.
All good, all good. Flaps 30.
Speed checked, flaps 30.
I think the DME is not reading properly. I suspect sometimes that happens. It doesn't read 0 at the threshold. It reads less because we are 2,000 feet and it still reads 8 miles. I think at the threshold we won't get 0, we'll get maybe 1 or 2. I think it's probably on the chart somewhere indicated like that. Landing checklist.
Landing checklist. Landing checklist complete.
Checklist complete. Alright, here we are. Oh, come on. It's not holding the speed very well there. Alright, it's coming back on the speed. I'll let the autopilot sort it out a little bit and then take it manually. Here we go. Fiumicino. Flight director. Wish me luck, I always say that actually, but it's
Approach stable.
1,000.
best approach altitude set.
Approaching 16 right.
It's not always easy actually to control it like this. I find it way easier in the actual aircraft. Anyway, I'll try to do a good job of it if I can.
Approaching minimums.
Approaching minimums. Minimum.
Minimums.
Landing.
Checked.
$100. 50. 30. 20. 10.
Speed brakes up. Reverse normal.
Manual braking.
Check.
Here we are.
60 knots.
Manual braking. Yeah, you land with the auto throttle on, yeah. Right, so we'll go next left. I actually forgot to set up GSX. Let's see what we have. So left here on Alpha Golf. Let's see how it works. I'll call GSX. And the gates 7. Uh, 703. Let's try. No. So 703. Take Aeroporto di Roma. Oh, 703 straight here. Happy days.
For your safety and the safety of those around you, please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened and keep the aisles and
Cool.
clear until seatbelt signs are turned
It
off.
should be right here.
Take care when opening overhead lockers, as items may have moved during your flight.
So we have
Mobile
Victor.
phones will now be used on board and some are permitted inside the terminal. Thank you for choosing
short taxi in, which is good. Oh yeah, here it is there, like this. It's a bit of S-turn. As I was explaining yesterday, there's a bit of a dead angle there, looking at 10 o'clock. Either I see like this, or look here, but I maybe need to set view like this to see a little bit at 45-degree angle. And then the brakes are very, very powerful. So in a kind of area like this where you've got to do S-turns and there's a couple of taxiways and kind of grassy bits in the middle, you would need really to look at the camera to make sure that you're not putting the right gear into the grass. Okay, now it wants me to go right. Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. Like always, this is a little bit fidgety. If I stop in the right spot, it's gonna do a Macarena. Point one, it's not bad. Alright, parking brake set. So yeah, Rome Fiumicino. It's quite a nice scenery, nice approach there, 11816 right. Beautiful. That's it guys, thank you very much. Unless you have any questions, like always, I'll stick around for a couple of minutes, see if you have any questions, otherwise I'll head off as well. Thank you very much anyway. I hope you enjoyed the flight today. It's quite good fun. I like the interaction, the dialogue with you guys. Hopefully I will be able to do that soon again and finish the little tour of Europe, going through Paris, London, Frankfurt, Munich, Amsterdam, Rome, next leg to Madrid. It's a little heads up for you. But yeah, in the meantime, thank you very much. Don't forget on YouTube when you watch that again to hit the subscribe button, give me a like, and until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.